I just got off the phone with the listing agent for a veteran making an offer with the VA home loan, and they denied it because of it. If you think realtors should lose their real estate license for discriminating against veterans using their VA home loan, put a comment in the section and watch videos like this and get educated. I'm David Piatek with VA Housing Education, where we specialize in educating the military community around using the VA home loan. And we also do a lot in the real estate community. So let's jump right into it. So in the past, the VA home loan has gotten very bad rep around the appraisal process. This is probably the number one question that I get from listing agents around the VA home loan. It's not necessarily the qualification. They're just more concerned about where the appraisal is going to come in and that it's very strict. And that's really not the case. So let's go through some of the common misconceptions around the appraisal itself. The first thing that always comes up is that, the appraisal is going to come in low. And I'll tell you this, the VA home loan for the appraisal is a pretty loose process in general, right? They have more flexibility on getting value by being able to go out further as far as distance, and also the time frame of closings for the appraisal are also expanded versus a conventional loan. Now, there are some things that the VA is going to look at, what are called the minimum property requirements. So if there's peeling paint or there might be some damages to the property, the VA will ask that those things are repaired before you close on the property. Now, I believe it's last year they came up with a new VA circular, because we do this all the time, where if a veteran wants to do the repairs after closing, as long as it's not a safety concern, they can do that and put the money up themselves. That allows veterans to buy properties as is. Because I'm sure you've heard that you can't buy properties as is because the sellers have to do their repair work. But that's not the case, especially when you're talking about a competitive market. It makes sense to do something like that. But at the end of the day, that's your call, not mine. But a good agent's going to be able to tell you when you go into a property, hey, these are the things that might go wrong. Another thing that we get asked or complaints is that the VA appraisal process takes too long. And I'll tell you that on average, right, it takes about 10 business days to get an appraisal back, which is pretty awesome. It's not 4 days like maybe like a conventional loan would be, but still with a 10-day window, typically closings are about, I would say, 20 business days. So 10 business days is not bad, and at least you'll know the value sooner than later. Another cool thing with the VA home loan is if the appraiser feels that the value is going to come in low, they issue what's called Tidewater. It gives the listing agent, the buyer's agent, the opportunity to submit comps to support the value. And more times than not, the value comes in over what the appraised value is. And that could be due to a lot of factors like the appraiser not having access to off-listing properties, or especially with like new construction, that gets a little dicey. But again, they reach out and get that information from them, or the appraiser's not familiar with the area, they'll also reach out for that. We talked a little bit about the if the property's not in perfect condition and as is. So let me go back to that just a little bit and explain what these escrow accounts look like, or what would be an example of one. That's the easiest way to explain it. So let's say the appraiser goes out to the property and there's peeling paint damage on the windows, the deck has peeling paint damage, and then let's say the garage is completely dilapidated, but they're appraising the whole property. So you have a couple options here. You can get an estimate for the porch, the door, and the windows, and let's say it's $1,000. Well, so typically the lenders are going to hold back 1.5 times the amount of the quote in an escrow account that you will set up and fund. So in this case, when you get to closing, you're going to put in an extra $1,500 into that account. Now, you typically have a couple months to get those repairs done, and you can do the repairs yourself. You don't actually have to hire the person that you got a quote from. So if you're really handy, you could save a ton of money. The appraiser goes back out. Well, you'll notify the lender that, hey, these items have been repaired. They go back, the appraiser goes back out to the property, clears it, and then you get a check back for that amount of money. Now, let's say with the garage situation where the garage is dilapidated and you're like, I don't want to, I'm going to demolish the building, but the VA is making me making me repair it. Well, you can actually ask the VA with a letter to your lender to omit that structure for the purposes of the appraisal. Now, the downside is if the garage gives you a lot of value, that's going to be taken away. But where it does come in handy is if you have, let's say, a small shed or a barn that's on the property, you can ask to omit that. And a lot of times those things are not going to impact the value of the property. That's like the main concern. And also, if you live out in rural areas, they used to require private road agreements, which were a nightmare to get at times because basically you needed an easement to cross to someone's property. They needed all that paperwork. They wouldn't approve it without it. Well, now they've waived that completely, so it gives you an opportunity to purchase a property. So if you guys haven't, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Again, David Piatek with VA Housing Education, here to educate our military members and the real estate community around using the VA home loan. This is David signing off.